Hooray, aloha, and welcome to Wisdom Dialogues with Hope Johnson, coming to you from Hawaiian beaches on the beautiful big island of Hawaii. Hooray, hooray. So one thing that commonly comes up is this sense of overwhelm, as if there's too much or it's too much, or you want to get out of it, whatever it seems to be. For me today, it had to do with work. I found myself talking with a couple of different people, like, hey, I really don't want it done that way. I want it done a different way, in business. And having this sense like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be doing this. This doesn't even feel, congruent for me. And then in noticing that is also a habit. That is also a habit. It's just a habit to be like, I don't want this. It's making it as if something's actually happening. That's why. It's as if something is happening, as if you are actually doing something, when it's more dreamlike. It's more dreamlike. And the only choice in it is to recognize what it is. It's between recognizing what it is or falling into the same pattern, you could say, unconsciously, even though everything's really consciousness. It's kind of like you fell asleep and sleepily followed a pattern, and it seemed like it was a real trial or something. As if something needs to change, as if something isn't the way you would have it. See? Everything in the perception is the way you would have it. Everything in the perception is exactly the way you want it, because you can use it for undoing the guilty thought that makes the world appear real in the first place. Whatever it is, you can use it. That's the beauty of it. That's why whenever there's any kind of sense, like an egotistical sense, and you can say overwhelm is an egotistical sense. So when I found myself looking at overwhelm in the moment, it's obvious that's an ego sense right away. I must be wrong. I must be wrong about the way I'm looking at this. And willingness to see that I am wrong. Maybe it starts out with, I hope I'm wrong about what I believe right now that's causing this sense of overwhelm. Hope I'm wrong about that. And if you're open like that, and that gives you an opening, it makes an opening in your mind, it makes an opening in your body's energy field, so that you can face the reaction of overwhelm, and be open to a new interpretation. So it's, the overwhelm will just be interpreted from the other thought system, the one that's not of ego, the one that's not making the overwhelm, the one that's not making the overwhelm up in the first place. There's my cat. She's playing up there. See, you ask the one who made overwhelm, how to get out of it, then any solutions that you're going to get are kind of circular. They're just going to lead back to the same thing again. There will be egotistical kind solutions offered, and Oh, here's how you get out of that. Well, it's not about getting out of it, it's about seeing through it. And that's why when you try to get out of it, you might find temporary relief. Sometimes you might find temporary relief, but it's going to lead back to the same again. Maybe in another form, maybe not, but it's going to lead back to the same feeling again. So it's really important to go through the feeling, go through that feeling of overwhelm with willingness to see that you've made a mistake. It could even be, like I said, I hope I've made a mistake even. Like when you just feel a tad bit upset or worried or anything like that, you could say, I hope I'm making a mistake. If that feels more in alignment, then I must be making a mistake. You know, sometimes you can't just jump all the way to that. But maybe something that's easier to digest, so to speak, is I hope I've made a mistake about whatever I'm believing right now that's causing this sense of overwhelm. No one actually gets overwhelmed. There's just a sense of it. You get a sense of it, and it seems as if that's a real thing. That's a real sense. But nothing that's being perceived in separation is coming from reality at all. It's coming from misbelief. If you're perceiving in separation, you're experiencing some kind of an upset feeling. And if you're experiencing any kind of an upset feeling, you can know that you can accept something different than what you're accepting about yourself now. See, I must be mistaken helps to open the way for that answer. And then it's like, yes, once you see you are mistaken, then it's done, it's gone. And it's undone the illusion, it's undone the cause of this illusion little by little. That's how it gets undone. That's true forgiveness. When you see that the reasons that you made up for your upset are not real reasons at all, because they're not even true. They don't have anything to do with truth. And be happy about it. When you get a sense that anything's wrong, be happy about it. The happier you allow yourself to be about it, the easier it is to learn. And learning doesn't end. Learning doesn't end until you don't perceive separate bodies anymore. Basically, your power of creation in this illusion is to make a choice. You get to make a choice between the truth or the illusion that you're perceiving, making the illusion that you're perceiving as if it's the truth. Nothing that you perceive here, nothing that you perceive about this world has one bit of reality to it. It's all you relating with a part of your mind, a part of your own mind that's confused. For a time, for a temporary amount of time, you identify with that confused part. And whenever you feel upset, you're identifying as that confused part. It's almost as if it's the child and you're the parent. But you get identified as the child. You can say this is kind of like your child. This whole world, it's kind of like your child, yourself and your world. It's really the same thing. It's like your child because it's manifest out of your belief about yourself. And it's a false belief. It's a false belief about yourself. This image that you made of yourself in a world is only a temporary thing for you to get back to who you are without any image. And you know, I hear from people about being afraid of that because they tell me, won't everything be over? You know, won't it just be nothing? As if this is something. The world that we perceive, the world of solid things and separate bodies, that's what's nothing. That's what's nothing. You go back to reality. You go back to reality instead of the perceived world, which is a whole bunch of nothing that's made to look like something. It's silliness. Aloha, Goda.
Hi, Hope.
Yay. Would you like to come on camera?
Not at the moment.
Okay, no worries.
I actually wanted to share an experience that I just had.
Okay.
I went to get a massage, and there was a moment where my yoni was exposed.
Uh-huh.
And I felt a lot of upset. And I noticed that I started to make judgments on the guy as if he was sexualizing me.
Okay.
And I felt that for maybe a minute, and I felt pretty angry. And then eventually I stepped out of it, and I saw that I was totally just making assumptions about this man. And then I started thinking about, thinking of a reinterpretation that I could have. And I started thinking about my childhood and about other children. And I remember there was a time where I never sexualized things, even body parts. It was just innocent and pure. Mm-hmm. So in that moment, I saw that I just totally created this scenario where I took my body part and made it sexual. Mm-hmm. And then I felt like I was blaming him. And mm-hmm. It's been like a pattern for several years now. And regardless, I guess a question came up through all of it. And it was, are we even sexually attracted to body parts? Because in my last relationship, I noticed that attraction had nothing to do with bodies. It was like this realization that I had that it came from within. And it was always like, even with all my exes and stuff, it was always the mind connecting first.
Sure.
And some sort of emotional connection. And then I started attaching like all these things to the body. Mm-hmm. Anyways, yeah, it was a pretty trippy experience. And I guess that question came up.
Uh-huh. So do you see a transformation in your perception too? After?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I saw it as completely innocent, including my own body. And mm-hmm. that I was the one making it sexual. And then I noticed my energy just completely dissipated. And then in that moment, he covered me up. And I felt fine.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen that happen too. It's so amazing. I was always getting it in a sexualized way as far as body parts. Well, not at first. When I was really young, I would see, like, I remember my dad would hang around naked, and it was so non-sexual, and it was just fun, fun and funny. And then at some point, it got to where like all these parts were sexual, but yeah, and I'd start to feel like confused and not knowing what to do when a guy would start to get sexual with me. And eventually it showed up to me where a guy was really like, it seemed like he was putting a lot of pressure on me, right? And I just realized that it was me, that I was making it up, that I was the one being sexual. It's all coming from me. And the energy just completely shifted. I just like had that realization while looking into his eyes.
Yeah.
And then there's no more of that.
That's so wild.
Isn't it
wild? Literally Yeah, it does come from you. And I even thought to myself, like even if I got the perception that he was sexualizing me, then it would have been proving my belief system. And then it's like back in the cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like when you recognize that it's you, and they're completely off the hook, like as a separate thing. You know what I mean? It's kind
Yeah.
of like you put them on the hook for something, like they're behaving some way, then you're on the hook. Really. Without having them on the hook, they can transform because they're just right in your mind.
Wow.
Like their relationship with you transforms. Like you know, people have their free will as far as what they um, what they are willing to accept as far as what the truth is. Those that's where it is. That's where your free will is, choosing between truth and illusion. People have their free will as far as that goes. But as far as their dance with you, that's completely within your dominion.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm starting to really recognize that. And I keep practicing that idea that I'm making it all up. And when I really feel that and just close my eyes, I feel
Yeah,
that inner smile and I
good.
just feel light. And it's
Yes,
funny then, but
I
it really
know.
like you have to tap into it.
I know it's really funny, and you can apply it to all the things. Have you been applying it to your mom coming and talking to you?
Oh, yeah, I've had quite the perception come up yesterday.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and you got to while you're having the perception, see that you're making
Yeah,
it up.
I remember she sent like this very angry text message,
Hmm.
and it appeared as if she was telling me that I was going nowhere in life and I need to wake up and all this stuff.
Yeah,
And I remember seeing that and crying and really feeling it. And I kept practicing handing it over to spirit anytime I caught myself like getting into my thoughts. And
yeah,
that's been incredibly helpful, just letting go of trying to fix it and just giving it up to God.
yeah. And
Um,
gratitude goes such a long way. You
yes.
wouldn't get any kind of angry looking email from your mom unless she loves you.
I even thought about how you said in one of your videos that pay attention to people's reaction because if you see them as anything but unconditional love, then you're misperceiving them.
Yes, that's right.
That blew my mind.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
So that puts all of you just keep on putting the responsibility back on your mind because that's all there is. See, it's the habit is to project the responsibility somewhere else, on yourself as an individual or on other people or something like that. But if you are just willing to take all of the responsibility, make as in making your mind responsible, though not
Hmm.
as an individual. That's a big difference.
Yeah, and I noticed that too. Even in your book, how you wrote that projecting for a moment, momentarily, you feel lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that because like sitting with the feeling, it feels like that holy fire that you talk about. And it's just so much easier to project.
Yes, it's easier to project because you get that momentary, that temporary, you get a sense of relief. It's a temporary sense of relief. That's why people project.
Hmm.
But if you let that projection sit, it gets hot. If you're not sending it out, you're letting it sit. And basically letting it sit is recognizing that no one's doing anything. Like no one deserves that projection and it's not going to do anything.
Because it's not happening.
Yeah, it's not helping you to undo the dream or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Mm.
it's a it's a choice for more illusions. That's all it is.
Thank you, Hope.
Thank you. I love you.
I
Yeah.
love you so much.
Appreciate you.
Mm.
Hooray. Anyone who wants to speak with me, raise your hand. If you're on Facebook, you can write comments to me and I will probably see them. That'll be fun. I think I will. Oh, aloha, Kim. And I got Bob Shine with a hand. Let's see. Did I do it? Okay, Bob, would you like to be on camera too?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. You're coming on camera too. Very soon. Did I do it? I think I completely dropped him. No, here he comes.
Okay. Let's see. Start video. There. Now you can see me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you and see you, but you can move your camera a little bit, get more of your head in there if you want.
Let's see here. Or my head? I'm not.
I can see your head. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm having to look this way because my computer screen went out. So the camera's this way, but my monitor is off to the left. So
Okay, good.
because
Thanks
I have
for
no
clearing that up.
yeah, I don't want you to think I'm not looking at you or you're not looking attractive today. I have to look away. You're looking gorgeous. So yeah, then, Goda was talking about how she was at this massage and she felt that this guy was being sexually minded with her while her yoni was exposed. And so there was this other woman, Katie, someone who is in San Francisco and works with, she has an erotic sexual coaching. And so she was in some kind of sexual coaching group and involved with this intimacy with this group of people she was teaching. And one of the guys came up and held her hand and was being very affectionate with her, but she was feeling like this was some kind of a violation and she felt very uncomfortable. But she let the guy continue to, hold her hand and be real close. And then afterwards she like had a breakdown and cried and had all this trauma. So it's like wondering, well, women blame men, the patriarchy and everything, but how much is that the victim consciousness of the woman that thinks in this way and then attracts this kind of behavior from men?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Bob. There's not men and women, so it's not like that. It's not like there's a camp responsible or something. It's not like there's
that's just it.
One camp responsible for it. It's like you're neither male nor female. Okay, you're neither male nor female. You're just having a dream, and in some cases, taking dream figures to be autonomous. And if it happens to be a woman and a man, then these stories are made up. They're make believe, but there isn't like anyone responsible for anything that you perceive except you. And that might be hard to hear for certain people. Not always, but just while there's this commitment to being a separate person, and there's a commitment to being right about certain people being bad people. Okay, there is that for a little while, and some people are not going to like to hear that. But at a certain point, everyone's going to be willing to hear that because that's where all of the power is. You realize that you have dominion over your world, and you are not vulnerable to being a victim of any kind. Just the idea that you can be a victim is a sense. It's set up so you can keep the world as if it is real. The world of separation as if it's real. Bob, you were going to say something. What is it?
Yeah, so then I guess that's just the byproduct of the separate selfhood. So to the separate selfhood, either something is a threat or an advantage. So, you know, you could, a guy is getting close to you, and you can either think it's a threat or an advantage. If you like the guy and everything, it could be an advantage. If you don't like the guy, then it could be a threat. But that's just basically the mindset of the separate selfhood. Is this going to bring me pleasure, pain? And so that's the duality, the conflict that the separate selfhood lives in, the belief in good and evil that's locked in that duality. And and then one side is always flipping to the other. The pleasure then turns to pain. Then the love turns to hate. The desire turns into fear. And so then that's just the seesaw back and forth of the separate self, because then you've separated yourself. It's like a seesaw. You're on one side and the other guy's on the other side. And at 1 minute you're up and the guy is down, and the next minute you're down and the guy is up. And that's just what the separate selfhood is living all the time, is the duality of polarities and opposites.
Yeah, it's this idea that we're hurting each other, that we're capable, that we're even capable of hurting each other.
Well, there has to be a separate selfhood that gets hurt, and an outside force that can do the hurting. So that's just it. Then that's not love. If you're feeling anything other than love, then that's a symptom of the separate selfhood, isn't it? Love is union and oneness and connection, and fear is disconnection and suspicion and all of the negatives. So then there's no separation, no separate selfhood. All is God, all is love, all is one and light. And there is no opposite that can be threatening or hostile. And then you realize the only thing you have to fear is fear itself.
Yeah. That's it. And the ego is always looking for something to make that separate selfhood seem real. And that's a good word for it, Bob. Symptom of separate self. Anytime you feel as if someone is violating you in any way, that is a symptom of the separate self. There's really no one out there to be violating you. Okay, if you get the sense of yourself violating someone, that is also a symptom of the separate self. You are not really violating anyone, but you are playing an energy. You're playing into an energy. You're playing into it. So it's like this sense of guilt comes up, and it's just allowed to be projected out instead of felt. Just allowed to be projected out. The projection of the guilt is the reaction that you get from someone that seems as if you are crossing their boundary. It's actually nothing wrong with it. And if you start to look, if you start to watch where that sense is, where they're reacting to you, you start to watch, you'll start to see where it's coming up, and you can almost like retract your energy, kind of like take a step back energetically and just rest and watch, because what you really want with people is connection. You know, and if you're getting the sense that you're overstepping their boundary and they're reacting to you, that's a sign right there that you're not getting connection. You're getting the opposite of connection, and that's not your goal. That's really not your goal. So it's like, you don't take it as if it's a guilty thing to do, though, because there's nothing that you actually do. It's dream. There's nothing that you actually do, and there's nothing that they can do to you. It's dream. So when it seems like someone's crossing your boundaries, you can also bet that they're dreaming of themselves as a guilty self. So by watching it like that, you're showing them their innocence too. You're getting your innocence revealed to you, and you're showing them their innocence as well. It's like you're letting them off of the hook. Instead of projecting their guilty feeling back to them, you're willing to have a vision of their innocence, which ends up being shown to you in perception. Let's see. We have a couple questions. Aloha, Michelle. Thank you for joining. I've been practicing massage for 17 years. You do have to be careful about your intentions. Okay, so what you're talking about right there, what you're calling intentions, is, this is the way I'm looking at it, is that it's in that moment where it seems as if you might be drawn into a thought pattern where you're sexualizing the person, making their body appear real and desirable to you. And that's right there in the moment. And in the midst of that, all it would take is willingness to have a different interpretation, and not pursue that. So it's like a moment to moment, and just not pursue that, so that you can have a clear connection with the person. I spoke about it before, any kind of sexual fantasy about a person, or sexualizing anyone like that, is more of a resistance. It's more of a resistance than it is allowing connection. So it's making an illusion of separation between you, instead of joining you together. And it's all in the mind. There's no body like that. It's all in the mind. That's where we join. And when you have a thought come up where someone's being objectified sexually, and you're willing to just let that pass, that's where you have that closeness with the person. That kind of energy where you're sexualizing their body, that does not bring a closeness. See? And people get afraid because they're like, well, how am I ever going to have sex if I don't pursue any of those kinds of thoughts? Well, the sexual relations just arise naturally. They don't need to be pursued like that. And when they arise from that sense of closeness, it's way, way more enjoyable. It's super more pleasurable than anything you can get from any kind of fantasy, any kind of body fantasy. I promise. Okay. I had a massage given to me by a man for the first time in Pune. I had never had a man give me one out of the feeling of being uncomfortable. He did become sexual, which was what I feared. Go figure, huh? Yeah, that's exactly how it is. So I made it all happen crazy. It really hurt my feelings. Yes, it's like it's like there's this hidden agenda to get hurt feelings. There's a hidden agenda to get hurt feelings. So when you sense a fear of something, you can know right away what you're getting set up for. You're getting set up for some kind of upset feeling, something to show that your fear was justified. See? I just have fun with stuff like that. Like if a fear of being sexualized comes up, I let that be reinterpreted into excitement. And, anytime anyone ever sexualizes me, I have a good ass time with it because it's me. And it's fun and it's funny. I don't know how I'm going. I don't know how I'm going to express myself in that instant, because it's always different. But you know what? It's always funny. That's what's fun. It's always funny. It's like something really blunt might come out, like, "Hey, I don't want any of that," and that feels good. Hey, no, thank you. I don't want any of that. That's awesome. Or maybe it's more like it's quiet. Like one time I was at a dance, and the person just kept on putting his hands on me at dance, and in a way where it was just like, whoa, how do I even get out of this? And a red flag came up. And it's like, oh, well, wait a second. Okay, there doesn't even seem to be a way out right now without like fighting my way out. So I just made eye contact with the person, and I asked for a reinterpretation, and all kinds of thoughts occurred to me like wow, I really appreciate you. I know you're me, and I really appreciate this. Thank you so much. I love you. And I just watched the whole thing transform. I just watched the whole energy transform, and never had a person come up to me in any kind of sexual way after that. But for that to show its effects, on the surface, you have to become certain. You have to become certain. And that takes looking in the direction of it. First of all, just accepting I made that happen, like Kim sharing, I made that happen, like whoa, yeah, I know. And I love how you put whoa and then a big smile like that, because that's what it is. It's not like this sense like ego will go, well, why do you want to do that to yourself? Nah, 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 And it's like, it's nothing like that. It's nothing like that. It's like when you get the sense of it and realize that I am making it up, and it's like, whoa, in a way, like hooray, because now I know I have all the dominion over it. This is awesome. A flexion? I don't know what that is. What is a flexion? Maybe you give me a definition on that one. That's the first time I saw one of those words. Flexion. Maybe she means reflection. Yeah. So yeah, it would be a reflection of the thought that you're a victim. But you don't want to see that. You want to project it out. You're also the perpetrator. You don't want to see that. You want to project it out. Reflection. Okay, thank you. And what I saw that was really an amazing thing is that everyone is me, to the point of, if I'm having a sense that there is a murderer, that's also me. See, it's not any different. The ego will set it up like, oh, I could never do anything like that. And it's like, you have potential for everything. And everything that you perceive is your potential. Everything that you perceive is your potential. So if you're setting it up as if, oh, you're welcome, thank you too, Kim, I appreciate you. If you're setting up as if the person outside of you, that murderer that seems to be outside of you, is worse than you and you're better than them because you would never do something like that, you're making yourself, kind of like digging yourself a hole, more of a hole, see? And you're asking for that very thing to be made manifest out of you. You may not see that manifest right out of your own form, but you're asking for more manifestations of that. And over lifetimes of playing out everything that's being projected, you can bet that at some point you were finding yourself in a murderous situation where you are the murderer. Okay. Some point on the timeline, you play everything out. So any of that kind of comparison, I really like her, but I can't believe that she has done. Check it. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. Not in a right or wrong category. It's just a projection, which means it's lengthening time, which means it's setting you up. That's a judgment, and it sets you up for judgment. You could say the opposite of that is forgiveness. Show me another interpretation. I don't want to see my brother or sister like that. Show me another interpretation. I hope I'm wrong about them. I hope they are what I would like to be. I hope they really are what I would like to be, because we're the same one. And when you see them as you are, then you get to see yourself as you are. You don't see yourself as you are until you see yourself in them. So whenever you make some kind of a comparison like that person isn't as whatever as you, or I'm so glad I'm at least not like that. Even that one, don't you know there's kids starving in China? Eat all your food. it's not, there's this drive, this ego drive, almost all the conversation, almost all the communication is about making this thing more real, not about undoing it. But you can change that in your inner dialogue first. Get the feeling, get the upset feeling, and then be open to a new interpretation. And as you're open to a new interpretation and you're getting that feeling, you'll be led through feeling because you're willing to feel good. And feeling good goes along with good thoughts. You could say thoughts that resonate with love, with thoughts that resonate with the truth. Willing to feel good, irrespective of what you perceive, your mind is brought back quicker. Lessons get learned easier. If you feel any,
Yeah, well, I've.
Go ahead, Bob.
Oh, well, you can finish your
Okay.
thought there if you want.
If you feel any kind of guilt about some lesson that you just learned, know that that is not helping you and it's not one bit necessary. You can be completely happy and joyful about what you're learning and how you're learning it. The lessons are going just perfectly. Everything's unfolding perfectly for you. Okay, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, so I brought this analogy story up before about Frankenstein. So Frankenstein, the monster, is creating havoc and destruction and terror everywhere he goes, and then he escapes from that, and he stumbles upon a little boy. Or no, it was a little girl that wants to play with him, and she doesn't see him as a monster, and they tenderly play and have a lovely time until the mob comes and starts chasing him. And then there's another scene where he comes at night, comes upon the blind man, and the blind man can't see him, and the blind man invites him to come to the fire and have some food with him. And Frankenstein is so gentle and kind and everything that Frankenstein is just basically reflecting whatever their vision of him in their consciousness. Frankenstein became that vision, whether it was a vision of friendship and camaraderie and sharing, or a vision of terror and fear or whatever. The person who was viewing Frankenstein was creating Frankenstein.
Right. Yep, and you can apply that to everyone. Everyone that comes into your view, that's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll
right,
be
yeah.
more gentle with your own reactions. And you'll be so much more gentle with other people's reactions that you're perceiving. When you're perceiving someone else's reaction, you'll be much more gentle with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because none of those reactions can harm you. All the fear is that something is wrong, and that reaction is like something is wrong. And when you can just get the reaction, then it shows you that nothing's wrong. Kim said, so intense. Yep. Reminds me of this video by Eagle Eye Cherry. Save Tonight. Save Tonight by Eagle Eye Cherry. Okay. Sounds like a song, maybe. That sounds fun. Thank you. Were you going to say something, Bob?
Oh, well, I guess it just comes down to yourself. I mean, it's just like the universe is just a big mirror, and you think that you're here, and that's the mirror's over there, but it's all you, and you blame the mirror, and you're trying to reach out and adjust the mirror, but all you have to do is adjust yourself, and the mirror automatically responds. That's just the principle here. When the guy was coming on to you at the dance, you just adjusted your view of that man and then saw your view reflected in the man. You didn't have to be a victim of the appearance that he was trying to force on you or whatever, that you, like you said, had the dominion. You are the creator of this man. That little girl and that blind man was the creator of Frankenstein, and they were innocent. The blind man and the little girl were innocent, and so that's all they could see of Frankenstein was innocence.
Mhm.
And so that's just it. You always have the power. You don't have to be the victim or be hurt or harmed by anyone or anything. That's just, exception.
Yes, that's making a wrong assumption. Christine loves that
That's
analogy.
it.
Very nice.
Oh, good. Oh, thank you.
So we're all created, you could say we're all created innocent. But when we see something other than that, we're not creating that, we're making it up. There's a big difference there. We're making it up. That's why we can just choose to see right through it. There seems to be anything wrong with them. If they're, you know what, if they seem to be crossing your boundaries, I want to say this again because it's important. If they seem to be crossing your boundaries, they are dealing with a guilty self-belief. They're dreaming themselves up as if they're guilty, okay? And if you're having that perception, so are you. You're dreaming yourself up as if you're guilty too. So, would you rather keep your guilt and help them keep theirs, or have your guilt healed by letting them off the hook? That's how you let yourself off. You let them off the hook. And that's a word someone would do. Are you just going to let people off the hook? Yes, be done. That's the only way you're going to see them truly. If you keep them on the hook, that's just the same as hold them up as an idol before your eyes, so you cannot see reality. So you can keep yourself as a guilty person and not see reality. Well, this type of thought process feels better than the alternative programming. This would have been helpful when I was younger and growing into a woman. Well, good thing that never even happened and there's only now. Yay. Healing would be better. Yeah. Yeah. So the interesting thing too about these timelines, it seems like you were a younger woman before, but you weren't a younger woman before. You're a younger woman right now, in that's what's being projected right now. So it's not as if changes can't arise on that timeline. What seems to be the past, changes can arise right there. So when you find yourself with the idea that this would have been better if I had this information earlier, all that is a distraction, because you have it for that time now, because that time only exists now. So you still have it for that time right now. There's no other time. Yay, Kim. There's no other time. So we're making it as if there was a past. When we make it as if there was a past, like it's having an effect, as if it's having some kind of an effect. Since I didn't have this knowledge before and I did it like that, wow, I really, now I'm to this. And it's like, no, it's not like that. There isn't a past, present, and future like that. There's only now. And now is the opportunity to make the choice for truth. So in that making the choice for truth, it affects all the different times. That affects all the different times. And your memory of before, that's just projected right now. So that could change, and it does change. It changes all the time. It's kind of like you went back in time and had a talk with yourself. What do we have here? Big old notes. Big old note. Oh, it's a big note from Lori. How fun. Let's read Lori's note. Hope I only have 3G, which does not support any kind of video streaming at all! Exclamation point. I'm lucky I get to do Messenger off and on. It seems to work in the morning and evening. I'll be here for the next 2 months. Tell everyone I'm doing well. Everyone, she's doing well. It's a whole new experience here in Texas. I won't even be able to listen to the playbacks because I have no Wi-Fi at all unless I go to the library in town, which is 20 minutes away. I'm seeing that it's not wrong. It's what is right now. I love you, and I'll see you sometime in January. Oh, this is so fun. Lori is taking a 2-month break, and she's stoked. You're stoked, Lori. If you hear this later, you probably will. Lori, you're stoked. This is awesome. It's always awesome when life seems to force you into a certain situation. It's always for growth, you know. And what I mean by growth is not like so much the evolution of your material being, which, you know, that occurs naturally anyways, but as in healing, the kind of growth that's healing that guilty self-belief, healing that sense that you need anything outside of yourself. I just love that. It's one of my favorites. It's just healing things that seem to be, this idea that things seem to be outside of myself. Like, oh my goodness, I need this. I need a masseuse, for instance, or even I need a dentist, for instance. It's like when you recognize you need nothing outside of yourself, these things just arise without you having to buy into perceiving a need. You're pursuing needs, because the more you are pursuing needs in your mind, the more needy you become. Not that you really can have any needs, but in a dream, you tend to have more needs. And you know what people experience too a lot is accumulating this sense of needing things, needing particular things. And it's like any needs that you apparently need are already being provided. Thank you, Malcolm. I love you. But taking it upon yourself to get your own needs met, to meet your own needs, that's a lot of pressure, and you don't have to. You never ever have to meet your own needs. It's amazing. When you're willing to see that thought that says you have to is only an offering, a delusional offering, a delusional thought offering, you get this sense of relaxation in knowing and recognizing that everything is just coming out of your being. So these things that seem to need to be done, they just are done through you, done for you. See? And they're always done for you. It's just a matter of who's your guide. Who's your guide? It's always done for you. It's always done automatically in the mind. It's a matter of who's your guide in your thoughts. In thought, who is your guide? Is it, you have a choice. That's where that one choice is again. I'm bringing it up in a lot of different ways because it's the only power of creation that you have in a dream. It's a choice between making the world real or allowing yourself to know what real is. It could be in the form of admitting to yourself, I don't know what's real. Just admitting I don't know what's real. That opens you up for seeing. No one can really tell you. You have to have that experience yourself. Aloha, Goda.
Hi. So
Hi.
I have another question.
Yes.
I know that we talked about this before, but I seem to still be a little bit confused about the concept of knowing when your spirit is guiding you
Uh-huh.
and the concept of intuition.
Okay.
Because I've seen, I guess, messages in my own reality, whether it's through numerology or dreams. And it feels like in those moments I'm being guided or I'm getting these messages from the universe. And they feel intuitive. But I remember you saying that that doesn't really exist. So I guess I'm being confused about how to know when you're being guided.
Well, it's so in the moment. And really it's done for you. So if you could say that all of your actions are guided, they're either guided by the ego or they're guided by your spirit. And that has to do with how you're taking the thoughts that are arising, the thoughts that are occurring to you. Are you making thoughts true that purport to you being guilty and this illusion being real? That'll make your actions guided by ego. Or are you trusting that what's true is really true? Are you trusting in that? That'll make your actions guided by spirit. So it all comes down to in the moment. So all these things like where you have a dream and different stuff like that, all that stuff is open to reinterpretation and could be changed at any time. So it comes down to moment to moment. And that's why I really like the distinction between intense intention and willingness, because intention is something that you try to hold for the future, whereas willingness is just right now. It's just right now. Are you willing to hand it over to spirit? Are you willing to hand it over to spirit? And basically, what this is like is just allowing yourself to be uplifted. All the actions are taking care of themselves. Allowing yourself to just be uplifted. That's all.
I guess I struggle with that in a way too when you say to just allow your actions to be natural and stuff, because it doesn't feel like I'm being guided if I find myself getting angry and yelling on the surface. Then it
Right.
feels like
Right.
not being guided.
Well, you can know that you've been guided by ego.
Okay.
You
It comes back to the feeling of what feels lightest.
Yes. You know that you've been guided by ego. You perceive someone as a threat. Otherwise, you wouldn't be yelling at them.
So simple.
It's so simple. And so when you find yourself yelling at them and everything like that, you don't have to feel guilty about that. You don't have to make yourself guilty about that. It's learning. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always learning. It's always for learning. So it's like, whoa, that's how you know. Oh my goodness, that's how I know. I've been following some stuff now for a little bit. If I made that kind of expression, see, it's kind of like you kind of like up level this thing. Like you feel a little bit like you're guilty, like you've done something wrong, and then you try to cover it up, and then it comes again and again, and it gets to where it's heavy and it has to blow up like a bomb, and that's the yellow.
Yeah. I noticed that so much. Like, I describe it as like first it's like a little push from the universe, and it gets heavier and heavier until it's like a shove, and it's like, look at this, look at what you've been thinking.
Yeah, so that's why you get more sensitive through having perceptions like that and not coming down on yourself as if you're guilty or something. Through having perceptions like that, you get more and more sensitive to it, and you start to perceive your sense of upset earlier on, and you're already asking for help earlier on.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh,
So
I was
isn't
also
it so fun?
Yeah, I was also thinking about that too. I noticed how lately when I've been practicing your lessons truly and reminding myself that I'm making it up, it seems like anytime I feel even the smallest jab, my solar plexus begins to hurt, my heart begins to hurt. I feel nauseous. It's like it feels like I feel everything earlier and it feels so heavy, but it feels like I'm feeling it to the fullest. which is just so
Yeah.
wild. I'm not used to that.
It's just as heavy as it's been. It didn't change in that respect. It's just that you're not covering it up anymore with a bunch of thoughts that are projecting it.
Okay.
That's why it feels so intense. You were covering up the intensity before. You can totally handle that intensity. You notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can handle it. It's just that fear was getting you to project it. So, thinking this is too much for me, I need to project it.
Oh my God, it's all coming together.
Isn't it all coming together? Are you stoked or what?
Yeah, I have actually been getting excited about the
Good.
opportunities and stuff. I
Yeah.
noticed that this morning.
Yeah, you're seeing you've been putting your focus on it for a while, and it seems like recently you've been more devoted. As you get more devoted like that, you're going to see more of the results. You see the results right in your energy field. Right in your energy field, things that used to really hurt stop to hurt so much. Or at first you're really feeling them intently, and that's awesome. That's how you know you're on the right track. You let that burn. That's the holy fire I'm talking about.
God, I love you so much, Hope.
Oh, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for your persistence. It's like a persistent attention to this over time is going to show you the results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun. I just love watching your videos. I love talking about it and just everything.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
stoked you're coming here, and then I'm going to hug you soon, right?
Yes.
Aw. All right. Talk again soon.
Aloha.
Aloha. Hooray. Let's see what I have here. Hope, have you always thought this way, or was there an evolution for you? What's your journey? Oh, I think I just ate a bug. That was awesome. Yeah, it was varied. It was really, there was definitely a part of me that thought this way, and you know what I'm getting right now is that's everyone. That's everyone. Like the stuff that I'm sharing with you, you already know. You already know it. You just are projecting it outward to hear it from another person. That's all. You already know it. And I knew it too. And I knew it when I was a little kid. And then I covered it up. And I found myself covering it up with thoughts. And I went all the way to the other extreme where I was completely an individual, totally responsible for my own life, without spirit, without any spirituality or anything like that. And so I got to live that out and see where it leads. and I totally forgot about I totally forgot that I had dominion over the world. I totally forgot about that. I had covered it up so well that it was out of my vernacular, so to speak. And then someone gave me a book. I think the first book someone gave me that was a spirituality book, I think it was The Secret of all things. And it just almost like triggered some memory, triggered some memory in me. And not long after that, I was writing kind of like as a therapy and also sharing it. And, the way I could see it, I could see the memories coming back, and the way I could see it, it was all very dim at first. That was 2009. And then over time, it became more clear. It just keeps on becoming more clear. Every time we have these conversations, every time we're having wisdom dialogues, it keeps on becoming more clear in my mind. And I thank you so much. I thank everyone who comes and asks questions and watches. And yeah, I cannot express how grateful I am for everyone who is with me on this. So much appreciation. Oh, and you can see more about my journey if you want to read it in my book, Unschooling for Parents. It's not only for parents, it's a really fun book. Lots of my friends are reading it, and they're super stoked to be reading it, and they're not parents. But if you are a parent, it's also fun. Malcolm says, seeing through expectation. Yeah, that's a big one. Is the ego puts out all these kinds of expectations for how you're supposed to be, how they are supposed to be, how this is supposed to go. And if you make it as if those expectations are really true, as if there's something that's about you, then you're setting yourself up for some kind of sense of failure or suffering. Nothing can go wrong. That's what I'm stoked about, that nothing can go wrong. In that way, even if there's some kind of play, as in, hey, that's not the way I want that done. Like I found myself with my app, I'm having an app developed right now, a yoga app. And the person who did it, who did some of the screens for me, you know, I was letting him know, hey, I don't want it that way. Did you read what I wrote? I like it to be this way. And even in that, in recognizing that it doesn't really matter how it goes, that we're only relating with ourselves. I'm relating with myself right there. It's like, how are you taking it? Are you making it real that you don't want it that way? Say someone comes and paints your house and it's a color that's not, you didn't pick that color out and you're not super fond of it. It's not like you can't say, hey, you know what? I don't want it like that. I didn't expect it to be like that. It's just that within yourself, you know that it's all going right. It's all going awesome. Aloha, Janelyn. Oh, Lori, Christine says she loves you. I don't think I told you that before. Maybe I didn't see it. Yulia says she loves you too. I'm guessing everyone loves you that's on here, actually. And then Goda said, wasn't the past the present at some point? Yes, that's why I'm saying there's no present either. There's no present either. There's just this moment. There's just this moment. You know why I say there's no present? Because nothing's happening. Nothing's really happening. It appears as if things are happening, but they are just a projection of energy fields. So nothing's really happening like it seems. Yay. And Julia's getting blown away. I love that. You know I love blowing you away, Julia. It's so fun. Goda said, aren't they both now present and this moment? The present and this moment. What's the difference between the present and this moment? Oh, she asked me. Aren't they both now? Yes, you could say the present is a projection. Now is before the projection of the present. You are now. Now is love. One way of saying it. Don't have to get tangled in the words. I'm only using them for pointing, but I think you see what I mean by now is before the present. Now is before past, present, and future. It's kind of like past, present, and future are like this, and then here's now. That now is the space from where those can be observed. Past, present, future. Now is the space. See? Yay. And now is where all the love is, where you can let the love in. Here's the thing, when you're in relation with a person and it seems as if there's no love between you, or maybe there's some pain between you, it's only because you haven't been willing to have your perception of them corrected. And that's kind of an important word, that word correction. You know, the ego will have you saying, I don't need any correction. I don't need any correction. I know that person is that. But if you will be open to having your thoughts corrected, kind of like a child who's afraid of the dark. Maybe there seems to be a ghost in the room, but it's really something else, and you just need to have that thought corrected. That's what it's like. It's that kind of correction. Like you're perceiving what you're perceiving is not really there. You need to find that out. You need to find out that what you're perceiving is not really there. So it's kind of like you're asking your parent to show you. Turn on the light and show you. But where there's this unwillingness to receive a correction, it's like the child wants to stay with the idea that it's really a ghost. That thing right there is really a ghost, that it's not something else. Wants to stay in the dark so that there's no seeing that. So you have to be willing to see that what you're made of it, what you made of a person, what you made of a situation, it's not as you see it. Would you be open to seeing it differently? Would you be willing to see it differently? That's the thing. Or would you rather be right? You've seen that one. Would you rather be right or happy? And that really applies. It's like, would you rather be right about who you think that person is, or would you rather be happy? Would you rather see him truly and be happy? And you can't make it up. That's not how. Happy, yay. You can't make it up. It's not like, okay, they're not really like that. They're like this. It's more like an openness to see. You don't want to paint anything over your perception. You've already painted, the perception is already painted over reality. You actually want to look through the perception, not trying to paint it pretty, but actually look through the perception. That means you're getting the painful feeling that's arising with having this perception of this person. You're getting that painful feeling. You're letting it to be there and recognizing what it's for. You can use that painful feeling to navigate yourself back to that thread of bliss that's going to interpret that feeling for you in a way that you can appreciate and understand. It's not some kind of spiritual, maybe you would call that a spiritual bypass. I don't know. Cloaking, draping, blocking, putting lipstick on a pig, so to speak. You know, you have to admit, I don't like the way I feel. You have to admit, I don't like the way I feel, and I'm willing to have a new interpretation. I don't like the way I feel, but I'm going to feel it, and I'm willing to have a new interpretation. Knowing that that new interpretation, it is coming. You know, at first you might just have a little bit of faith in that, and that's enough. Because any little bit of willingness, it's going to be used. It may seem to take some years in time. It may seem to take some years in time, and I can say it's totally worth it. And a lot of people who have been coming around wisdom dialogues and stuff like that, they can also say it's totally worth it, especially when they hit that point where they get super devoted. They get super devoted to it. And you know, your devotion builds out of having these experiences, having these experiences of miracles taking place. That's how your devotion builds. At first, it's just like a little bit of light, and you're putting a little bit of faith in that answer being there for you. Putting just a little bit of faith and confidence in the fact that you must be wrong about something if you have any kind of upset feeling, and that you're deserving, and it will be shown to you how to be happy. How to be happy no matter what. How to be completely invulnerable to the kinds of things that seem to arise on the surface. And you know, it's so much fun. We were talking earlier about curves and stuff like that, and I just have the funnest story. I was running around doing my book tour recently in August, and first I had something come up with my friend, something about the Me Too movement, and I was like, I just love it when anyone tries to do a perv thing on me. I just think it's hilarious. I think it's so funny. And she's like, you do? And I go, yeah, it just always turns out so funny. And she looks at me, at least that's my perception. She looks at me like, okay. And so then the next town I go to, The next town I go to, it's my family. I'm visiting my family. I walk into a room where it's all kinds of family members, and my uncle, the guy's like in his 80s, and he comes up to me and he just starts kind of feeling me up, right? And the way he kissed me was a little bit open mouthed, and I was like, whoa, what's going on, you know? And I was just like, whoa. I go, Uncle, I'm just really not into any of that kind of pervy stuff at all. And like everyone in the room just kind of like looked, you know, because it's like, whoa, what's going on over there? And you know, it just turned out so funny. He's like, oh, you're not. Yeah, I saw some nude picture of you. I guess my mom had a nude picture, kind of like rotating. I sent him to her, you know, rotating on her thing. And there was this idea that since I'm in a nude picture, that I want to have some sexual interaction with my uncle, apparently. So I just said, hey, how about you come to Puna and I take you over to the nude beach? And he's like, oh, I don't want any part of that, you know, then it's like not even a fantasy. There's nothing to fantasize about anymore. And I go, exactly. And then he told me, I know, I'm a pervert. And I'm like, nope, you're not. You're not. I don't accept that about you. I'm just not into that kind of stuff. It doesn't make you a pervert. You're not a pervert at all. And then the next thing you know, he's the one giving me a ride to the next town. It's like an hour and a half away. Spent some time with him alone at his house. Spent lots of time with him alone in his car. Not one bit of any of that kind of pervy vibe or anything. Not again. Not again. And you know, it was just kind of fun and funny. It was just kind of fun. It's like, no, I don't want any of that. Oh, you really? I saw this picture and it just all comes out exactly what the kind of, yeah, but that doesn't mean that. I'm like, hey, maybe you come over, go to some nude beach. You see that being naked really isn't a big deal, and it's not an invitation either. Just any of that stuff, it's all for play, it's all for creative play. And when you know that it's all you, it's just not a thing. It's not a thing. And who knows, maybe that made it not a thing for my sister too. I know my little sister was getting the same kind of treatment, and she just tried to stay away from him. Never, you know, it was just never really brought out like, hey, I'm not into that. So it's just kind of like this energy, like, oh, I don't want that. But instead of just welcoming it and being really honest with it, and you know, also loving, it's like, and it's like, no, you know, you're not doing anything wrong. I'm just not into that. You're not guilty for it. I mean, you certainly not guilty for having your perception. You didn't do anything wrong by thinking that if you see someone naked in a picture, then that means that they want to have sex. You don't know. You didn't, you know, there's no judgment on whatever the perception is, and someone's just reacting out of a perception. And here's the thing, if you see them, aloha Goda, thank you for coming, I appreciate you. If you perceive them crossing the line, again, they are feeling guilty. They are feeling guilty. And you're having the perception of that. It's mirroring a guilty perception within yourself that you didn't want to see. And now it's giving you the opportunity to see that. And in your willingness to see that it's coming from you, there's a healing for both of you, because you're not agreeing with their sense that they're guilty. When you're not agreeing with their sense that they're guilty, then they can be free of it, and so can you. You start to see them more clearly, and in turn you see yourself more clearly, and that's healing. That's how it gets healed. But instead, the ego will have you take a different tactic, either to get mean about it, you know, like, how dare you? Instead of just, you know, relaying that you don't appreciate that. You're not down for that. You're not down for that kind of energy. But still, there's an appreciation for that person and for it being brought up. It's like, thank you. Like there's always a thank you there. See, it's like an inner welcoming. It's an inner yes to that. Yes to that horny energy that I know is coming from myself. See? So yay, everyone. If anyone has any questions or would like me to address anything, let me know. Ah, I love you, Angela Rose. Thank you. I love you too, Janelyn. Thank you. Oh, you guys are so awesome. I may have covered a lot today. That may be enough. We'll see if anything else comes up. Oh, thank you. Yes, I really love those short videos too. So yeah, thank you so much to Anastasia and oh, I forgot her partner's name. It might be Angela. No, that's someone else who's right here. Yes, they are doing an awesome job. They're pulling out quotes from here and they're posting it up, and they're doing that without any charge. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you, Yulia. I appreciate you. Everyone, so much love. You inspire me. We go together, okay? We go together. That's the thing. All of us. Don't leave anyone out, because if you leave anyone out, you're asking for yourself to be left out. Don't leave anyone out. Anyone who seems like they're going to be left behind, make sure you're including them in your heart, because that seeming like they're going to be left behind, remember, it's a projection of your wish that you're left behind. It's a secret wish that you wish with the ego. You can't really be left behind, but it stretches out the illusion of time and makes more illusions of suffering. We're not into that. We're done with that. We're over that, right? We're over that now. In fact, I like to say that they go first. They go first. When you offer the freedom to them, when you offer the enlightenment to them, you receive it. You offer the appreciation to them, you receive it. You ever feel like you're not supported? That's because you haven't been appreciating. That's all. Start appreciating more. You'll feel more supported. You only can get what you've given. You get what you've given. That's it. To have, give. That's how it works. And you know, you see people under the impression that they've given so much. Some people don't understand what I'm saying about giving. Now, not giving from the ego sense, as in trying to overwork yourself, sacrificing yourself. Sacrificing is not giving. Sacrificing is taking. It's not about sacrifice in any way. It's a different kind of giving. It's giving of the love that you are. To be able to give the love that you are, you have to be able to see through, be willing. You are able. It's just a matter of whether you're willing to see through the idea that love doesn't go here. I can't love that. Can't love that person, for instance. Your willingness to see through that is going to show you what real giving, what real generosity is. Okay? What real generosity is, and that's what you receive back. It's not the same as sacrificing yourself. In fact, if you ever get into any kind of energy of sacrificing yourself for the good of another person, watch that. Watch that. You're making yourself separate. That's not doing anything but making more illusions, which is really nothing. So you can say it's doing nothing. But the illusions appear to be something, and that's why they seem to take time. Okay? Thank you. I'm here every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Hawaii time. If you're watching on Facebook, you can get the link there. If you're watching on YouTube, you can get the link there. If you're watching somewhere else, go to hopejohnson.org. That's the best. You can find everything there. Go to hopejohnson.org. Also, you'll see on hopejohnson.org about my Miracle Botanicals Essential Oil Company. Yes, we have the best essential oils in the world. We love them, and we love you. So check that out too. And check out my book, Unschooling for Parents. That's also on the website. There's so much good stuff. Yay. Thank you so much for following. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you. Mahalo. Aloha. And a hui ho. I love you, Anne.